Social media is not free. It's actually the most expensive thing that you're not tracking. Everyone, literally everyone says, post more free content, and you're gonna land more clients. But it's also the same amount of people that are also probably broke. So in this video, I wanna break down a completely different mindset shift when it comes to social media and client acquisition. I wanna present to you a new way to think about getting more business, because at the end of the day, the most valuable thing that you have is time. And if you truly know what your hourly rate is, then you'll also know that sometimes social media probably isn't the best strategy for you. By the way, if we haven't met yet, my name is Emmanuel. I am the founder and kind of chief talking head guy of this cool little part of the internet. I also help solopreneurs, service providers, real estate agents, real estate brokerages, accountants, fractional CFOs, anybody providing a service. My main focus is to help them grow and scale their business using systems. And this topic here is unbelievably near and dear to my heart, because I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and many years of creating content, only to realize that there is actually an easier way. Now, to really help you understand where I want to take you, let me take you on a little journey with one of the clients I'm working with. Her name is Sam. Now, Sam runs a really great data analysis company, and the main challenge that she was having was, how can she acquire more CMOs to really build her business, to grow her pipeline, to really grow revenue and start to scale? Now, initially, we started off with creating content, or one of the main things that she really focused on was creating content. There's that term, 100 dirty reps, creating 100 pieces of content, because one, it will potentially get you more visibility and land a client, but two, it'll get you into the habit of creating content on a regular basis. Now, here's the problem with that. What we're essentially saying when we say create content is that we're wanting you to jump onto a hamster wheel, and we want you to run on this hamster wheel for the lifetime of your business, or eventually until you burn out. Not a very good feeling to have, especially if you're doing this all on your own. Now, if you have the budget for a media team, this process gets a lot easier. But if you are a solopreneur, service provider, chances are you're trying to build this up all on your own, and maybe you have a couple contractors here and there helping you with video edits or things like that. But at the end of the day, you're going to run out of time. That's just the bottom line, baseline fact of a strategy of managing and building a business off of social media. So what we did, in addition to her social media strategy that effectively created more consistency with a heck of a lot less effort, is to run ads. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't have a budget to run ads. And it makes perfect sense at kind of face value, but once you truly understand what's going on here and the true value of your time, you're going to realize that, yeah, you kind of actually do. So let's break it down. Okay, so let's start off by really understanding that, there's different rungs to this. If we're building a ladder, there's different levels to it. And we're going to start off with talking about content creation. The first big rung of this ladder that we're trying to climb up to reach some success in our business and more leads is when it comes to creating content, we have to ideate a topic, because we need to know what we're really going to be talking about. And that process typically takes about an hour to do. Now, the next rung up after that is we need to, we're going to say research and script, right? We need to research the information to make sure that what we're talking about is accurate. Plus, we have to kind of at least out of bare bones outline what we're going to talk about, because talking off of the top of your head, you end up rambling. But let's say, as an example, you're really new at this, you're trying to get your sea legs under you. It potentially takes about another 2 hours. By the way, let me put HR here so that we get very clear on how we're measuring this. The next rung up is, now that we have the research and the script, we have to create the shot list. So I'll put SL for shot list, and we have to create the assets. Like in my world, in this video here, I have this cool little iPad model that I'm taking you through. It took time to create this stuff. And so a shot list and the assets typically come in the form of maybe allocating another hour of just basic planning. Now, once that's done, then we go into the next rung, which is probably the most important rung, where we have to record. And if you're really good at this, you can do this in like 10-15 minutes. But realistically, if we're kind of new at this or still getting our sea legs again under us, this might take about an hour. Now, from there, the next rung up is that we now have to take this raw video that we just recorded, and we need to edit it. And the editing process does take quite a bit of time. It can take upwards of 2 hours to be able to get this dialed in right. And then the last big rung is that we have to post it. And posting isn't just posting. It's I have to create a thumbnail. I have to write the caption. I have to do all this other extra stuff in order to actually post this. And this process could potentially take about an hour. So in total, we're in the bag of creating one piece of content that could take us up to 10 hours of our day to be able to accomplish, or maybe our week for that matter. At the end of the day, it takes a very, very long time to get to this point, especially if we're new at doing this. And if we're new at doing this and we know that it's going to take up 10 hours of maybe our day or our week, and we only create one piece of content when we know that we need to show up consistently online, hey, guess what? This is what I'm talking about with a hamster wheel, because that 10 hours just inevitably starts back up at the beginning and then it just cycles back up to the top again. Constant rolling, repeating 10 hours of labor of you ideating content, researching and scripting, creating assets and a shot list, recording and editing, and then eventually publishing. It is quite a bit of work, especially if you're doing it on your own. And you might be wondering, well, why do so many people burn out and so many people have this jaded view of social media? Well, hey, guess what? That's a lot of work to be able to create one piece of content and to be able to do it consistently every single day, 365 days out of the year. It's gonna potentially burn you out a lot sooner than later. Now, one last argument I want to make with this, and again, some real talk. Let's get serious for a minute. Now, if, for example, we do a basic math equation and try to compute what your hourly rate is. And let's say, for example, most founders, their hourly rate needs to be anywhere from 500 to 1,000 an hour. And we're saying that we're going to be spending 10 hours of our day or of our week creating one piece of content. That means that we are effectively spending $10,000 on creating one piece of content. And the question then really becomes, did that one piece of content generate $10,000 or at least 4x? I make sure we have a 4x return, so at least $40,000 in return. And chances are, I guarantee it didn't. At least not very early on. It takes a very long time to be able to get to the part where you can have the machine running on its own and you're creating $40,000 off of a piece of content. But I guarantee we are very far from it at the current point in our state of business right now. So instead, let's look at the alternate reality of this. Let's look at paid advertising. Now, when it comes to paid advertising, the process actually isn't as complicated. So step one is that we need to, I'll put paid here, or paid ads. But step one is that we essentially need to create an offer. That usually comes in the form of a lead magnet or a piece of content that we're going to dangle in front of people that maybe we're going to record. Usually that doesn't take too much time. I'm going to say about 2 hours to tinker with it, mull over some ideas, and come up with a solid offer to present to the marketplace. Now, once we've defined the offer, the next step is that we have to create the copy. And the process of creating the copy is not actually very difficult. I mean, you can just run whatever offer that you're doing or creating, whether it be a lead magnet or, a consultation, whatever it is, you can just run it through ChatGPT and have it output some ad copy. But let's say on the high end of creating some ad copy, it's going to take you an hour. Very unrealistically, it's more like 5 or 10 minutes. But let's say, for example, it's going to take you an hour to create some ad copy. Now, after that, we need to launch the ad. And the process of launching an ad, look, Facebook, Google, they all have this stuff really dialed in. It could probably take you 15, 20 minutes again, but realistically, let's go off of the longer end of the stick here. And let's say that this process also takes you another hour. And then from there, once that's launched, the last step of this is that we just need to monitor and adjust. And the process of monitoring and adjusting, it doesn't really actually take up too much of your time. You don't need to be checking this ad every single day. That's going to drive you nuts, but maybe you check it every 2 or 3 days. And that process only takes about 5 or 10 minutes. But realistically, all you're really looking for is any nuance and changes in your cost per lead or cost per acquisition. And if everything's nominal, hey, guess what? You move on with your very merry day. 5 minutes of effort done. But let's say on the deep end of this, where you really don't know what the numbers are and you need to research and figure out what's working, what's not working, let's say it's going to take you an additional hour. Now, in total, we're in the bag for essentially, if I'm not mistaken, 2, 3, 4, we're 5 hours. 5 hours for running an ad. And that's not a day, that's not a week, that's running ads until you see the ad fatigues and then you change it. And some real talk, some ads, literally some ads, you can have them running for months and months and months, and you can just set them on autopilot because they're just so effective. They're bringing in the right amount of leads at the right cost per lead that it doesn't really justify having to come up with a brand new ad offer. Now, let's go back to this analogy of $1,000 an hour for your hourly rate. Now, if you spend 5 hours in this time span of, let's say, a month, to say that I can ROI on 5K, which is 1,000 an hour times 5 hours, it's much more realistic because that's something scalable. That's something feasible. It might take you 1, 2, or 3 clients, but at that point you have a machine that's bringing in leads on a regular basis. And because of that, the math just ends up making more sense. Now, quick side note here. I just want to point out that I'm not saying that you need $5,000 to run ads. I'm saying that you need, if we did the math of your hourly rate, maybe 5K at 1,000 an hour is what you're effectively spending your time on to be able to manage your marketing. But realistically, what we've seen is if you spend no more than $20 a day for about 30 days, it's roughly about 600 bucks a month. That's enough to really move the needle for your business. And I know a lot more people that can effectively allocate $600 a month towards running ads and not feel like they're breaking their back doing it versus other people that are thinking that the free option of just creating social media content is a lot more viable, not realizing that that free content is them on a hamster wheel creating content every single day of the week for months on end. So to quickly recap, social media is not actually free. At the end of the day, you are paying for it, and you're paying for it with your time. If this video is making a lot of sense to you and you found a lot of value in it, then I highly recommend you check out this one here.